Welcome to the Totally Honest Cooking Show. I'm Mark. Today we're roasting garlic. Roasted garlic is great and it has a lot of uses. But if you don't have it just kicking around, oftentimes it adds a big extra step that you're like, why do I want to do that? So today we're going to learn how to safely store roasted garlic for 2 to 3 months, and hopefully we'll learn how to do it safely. So let's get cracking. So we're going to start with our garlic heads. Now, you want bigger heads if you can get them. This guy obviously will be fine, but this guy is nicer because he's larger. Luckily, I've got subs lying around so I can sub out one. This guy's still a little anemic, but you know, whatever. Okay, so we're going to start by cutting the top off. The goal here is to expose the garlic. Before you start doing this, you should probably preheat your oven to around 400 degrees. In fact, preheat your oven to 400 degrees. Before you start doing this, you should preheat your oven to 400 degrees. Jerkins, cut that. Okay. Then you're going to do the rest of these. Once we've done that, we're just going to come over here to our oven. Again, it's preheating to 400 degrees. And we're going to put our prepped garlic into this baking pan. You can use a cookie sheet, that's fine. You don't have a baking pan. You don't need to be fancy with this. I make this little pocket, and this pocket is all you really need. I like to keep it in the pan because it makes it easier to pour the oil later. We're going to take some extra virgin olive oil, and we're going to cover these. Now, I'm not measuring. You don't need this much oil. Okay, we're going to make sure everybody's totally coated, first of all. There are a lot of ways to do this. Some people would tell you to use a muffin tin. Some people say, you know, just make the packet, you'll be fine. You know me. If you watch this show, you know that I'm pretty much like, you know, whatever, man, about stuff like that. But we've made our little packet, and the reason I use so much oil, by the way, that was a lot of oil. You didn't need that much oil. You don't need that much oil to roast garlic. You can do about a teaspoon a head. You'll be fine. But the reason I use that much is because after I finish this video, I'm going to make lunch for the week, and I'm going to toss this oil with some pasta for the next 2 days. So we're going to take this, we're going to put it in the oven for 30 to 40 minutes. So I'm just going to set the timer for 35 minutes and then I'll see you. 35 minutes later, and we're ready to pull our garlic out of the oven. Now we're going to wait for that to cool down enough that we can touch it without burning ourselves. While we're doing that, we're going to prep our smallest cookie sheet, this little half sheet, with parchment, and really we're just going to lay it on there because that's not going to stay. And now we should talk a little bit about food safety. Garlic and oil together can be dangerous. The reason for this is botulism, right? Botulism is a spore that exists in the dirt. Garlic grows in dirt. You take the garlic out, they clean it up, they bring it to the market, but it's almost impossible to get all of the dirt off of the garlic. Now, garlic on its own, perfectly safe all the time, pretty much, right? The problem is once you add oil. Oil makes garlic delicious, but oil also gets rid of the oxygen around the garlic. So by depriving the garlic of the oxygen around it, it creates an environment where the botulism spores are really happy. And if you let them sit at room temperature like that, or if you infuse an oil in garlic and you don't use it and you let it sit out at room temperature for more than a couple hours, botulism, maybe. Now, botulism is extremely rare on the upside. On the downside is you can very easily create a problem in some of our yummy, delicious foods. In case you're not familiar with botulism, it is a toxin that can paralyze you for weeks or months and can kill you. We don't want that. So usually when you make garlic oil, you make it in small doses or you make it in little ice cubes that you put in the freezer. I pointed at the freezer there in case you couldn't tell. What we're doing with the bulbs that we've roasted is we're going to take them out of their casing. We're going to put them on the parchment paper. We're going to put the sheet pan in the freezer and we're going to let them get frozen. Then we're going to transfer them to a plastic bag with no air. That will make the potential for botulism negligible. Like, it won't be an issue because they'll never sit at room temperature. You'll take them out when you cook them. You'll let them defrost for maybe 10 minutes and then you'll be fine. Now we're ready to open this sucker up. It's not quite ready for us to touch it, but opening it up will let it air out. However, I am going to pour this lovely oil into this pan so that I can use it later. I'm going to give this a couple minutes to cool down so that I don't burn myself, and then we'll get to harvesting the delicious garlic. And we will just start peeling it out using a paring knife. It should come out pretty simply. You could probably just stick the whole head in. I'm not doing that because this gives you a little bit more control. Do be careful though, don't burn the hell out of your hands. Once it's cool enough to touch, it's much easier to deal with. Just saying, don't be impatient about this like I tend to be. It's much better if you can just give it a slice, wiggle your finger, knock it onto the paper, and repeat. My garlic's pretty much all out of its natural wrappings and spread on this sheet pan. I'm about to stick this in the freezer. Again, you don't want to skip this step. Botulism cannot be smelled, it cannot be seen, cannot be tasted, and that is pretty terrifying. So if you're not going to use it all right away, stick it in the freezer, sort it into little bags, and let it sit for 3 months. It hasn't been long, it's only been about 10 minutes, but it's cool enough I can handle it, and it won't melt the bag or anything, and all that good stuff. I had intended to put these in freezer bags, but apparently I whoopsie-doodled at the grocery store, which makes this the first outside episode whoopsie-doodle to be featured in this show. But that's okay, I'm just going to stick it in this regular snack bag, get the air out, and then I'm going to start stacking them inside this plastic freezer container. Now, you might say, Mark, why roast the garlic? One, it makes the garlic flavor milder, but it still gives you garlic flavor, which is amazing. Two, it adds kind of a sweet flavor to the garlic as it caramelizes. And three, it can be used in all kinds of stuff. Roasted garlic hummus, roasted garlic pasta, roasted garlic spread, roasted garlic guac. Okay, I've got dinner to finish making, and I'm sure you've got stuff to do. So like, subscribe, ding that little bell, maybe leave me a comment, and I'll see you next time. Bye.